Greetings and salutations, hello friend. I am Jeremy Tank, and if you are watching this, I am your brand guy. What does that mean? That means that you have somebody in your corner to talk about your brand, branding, marketing, things that make a difference, things that are about who you are and what you're bringing to the world, your value, your knowledge, your expertise, all the things that make you unique, all the things that make you awesome, all the things that make you you. And you really putting that in a package and using it to talk to the world, showing them who you are in a way that really demonstrates your value and makes sure that you are represented as the amazing you that you can be. Coaches, consultants, and complementary medicine providers, those are sort of my niche, but I help everybody that really wants this help. And I have a program to deal with it. I'll talk about that more in the end. Right now, I'm going to wrap up my week of the law of attraction, and we're going to talk a little bit about reality transurfing, the reality transurfing today. Talking too fast, gotta slow down. And reality transurfing is a book that I happened upon while I was studying. Hello, Teresa. Welcome back. Is a book that I happened to pick up while I was studying rapid transformation therapy. Rapid transformation therapy, if you don't know, is a hypnotherapy using a little bit of really got to watch my tongue today, neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, psychotherapy, and hypnosis. And really what RTT is doing is helping people find the feelings inside that they want to feel versus the feelings that they are feeling on a subconscious level, and then using hypnosis and hypnotherapy to find those points and rewrite the stories that the mind has told itself, that the subconscious has told itself, to give people a more positive spin on their life and allow them to live. Why? Because holding on to the past, holding on to trauma, holding on to anxiety, holding on to a lot of things that hold us back, these blocks, these mindsets that are not healthy for us, doesn't help you in the now. And as we've talked about through this law of attraction, through quantum theory this week, through polyvagal theory this week, through everything doing with your mind and your body and how you are programmed before you are born till about age 7 by trauma, by the reactions through experience to believe, to act, to exist and see reality in a way that is trained into you. Well, it's just bullshit. it's just bullshit. There's so much behind it that you go, how does anybody survive and get out of this, right? There's the point of being raised, and then when you get to adulthood, you just try to live life and make all of these systems and processes work for you, but all of the stuff you're taught, all of the stuff you're trained through, all of that stuff, if it's trauma or in best interest, eventually it fails on you, because eventually you need to grow and adapt and move beyond these mindsets. And that's where a lot of people find the law of attraction and they go, I want that in my life. I want to focus on positive things. I want positive things to grow in my life. I want to be able to make money. I want money to flow easily into my life and through me into my loved ones to support myself and them and make sure everything is hunky-dory with the world, right? Isn't that really what we're all trying to go for here? We just want things to be hunky-dory, everybody to be happy. You know, there shouldn't be as much trauma going around, except for the fact that we are trained to be through trauma. And that trains the subconscious mind, which is more powerful. As I went through the other day, Marissa Peer's rules of the mind, the subconscious mind, the emotional mind is more powerful than the logical mind because it is acting on a deeper level, on a cellular level, cellular memory. It is acting throughout the body, through the caveman mind, through the limbic mind, through the midbrain, through the spinal cord. All of these processes drive you and your behavior. Drive you. Have you ever been driving on the road and you were going to work? And you got to work and then you're like, how the hell did I get here? I remember thinking about something and then I stopped and I parked and I was at work. That's the process of the subconscious mind. That is the training that you are giving your subconscious mind so that your conscious mind can go do anything else. And unfortunately, without a little bit of training, without a little bit of focus in that, your conscious mind isn't really doing anything helpful to you. It's just sort of playing around and imagining and going everywhere. Maybe it's actually telling you negative things. Maybe you're hearing negative thoughts while you're doing that driving, and that's certainly not doing any good, because another one of Marissa Peer's rules of the mind is that the mind listens to the words and the pictures that you give it, and that could be the words and the pictures through music that you listen to, movies you watch, television shows that you watch, things that you say to yourself, voices and stories from your past. But you don't live in the past, you live in now. You live in Eckhart Tolle's now. You have the power of now within you. You have the power to let go of the past and transcend that. Eckhart Tolle calls that the pain body being the subconscious mind that holds on to all of that training. What does all of this have to do with the law of attraction? Well, this is the vibration, the frequency that creates you in the quantum world, the quantum realm, the quantum field, however you want to perceive it. There are dozens of names for these things throughout history. Chinese medicine was talking about this stuff 5,000 years ago. Hinduism was talking about it 10,000 years ago. This is ancient history that we have just sort of scattered to the wind, and little bits and pieces come out here and there. Enlightenment, nirvana, the cycle of life and death. Whether you believe in reincarnation or not, the cycle of life and death certainly exists. Otherwise, we wouldn't have farms, right? We wouldn't have livestock. We wouldn't have plants that we can grow to eat. So this cycle continues forward, and you are part of the cycle of life and death. You are part of this energy of the earth, of the universe, constantly chewing itself over, recreating itself, and coming to be what is. So the law of attraction, a lot of people embrace the law of attraction, at least that I've known in the past, that I've spoken with. A lot of people embrace it because they've reached hard times in their life. I myself was suffering from depression, the loss of my mother, transitions in life that were just really challenging for me. And this last year, certainly with COVID and the pandemic, it put a damper on pretty much everything. And all of the things that were familiar to me, all the things that I thought that kept me safe, all the things that were really basic programming, caveman programming, but it's beyond that. It's like programming from grade school, from high school, from college. Here's what you do to be successful. They're no longer working. And that's what happens in life sometimes. The things that worked no longer work. So that when the things that worked no longer work, it's like when you're looking at something and it's just broken until you change the way you look at it. And then when you change the way you look at it, the thing that you look at changes. This is just using perception in a different way. We can trick ourselves into being happy. We can trick ourselves into being content, into feeling gratitude. And what that does is it trains the brain into being more gracious, more humble, more happy, more joyous, to sharing more. And that in turn creates a cycle. This is sort of how most people think of the law of attraction. The problem is that people get stuck. And people get stuck in the idea that they constantly have to push down anger. They have to constantly push down disappointment, guilt, shame, pushing down these feelings. See, feelings exist in the limbic brain. Feelings actually get wrapped up and encoded within the body. According to Chinese medicine, there are feelings located throughout your body. The kidney has one feeling, the liver has another feeling, the heart has one feeling, the lungs have feeling, the skin has feeling, the muscles have feeling. And by feeling, I'm not talking like touching feeling. I'm talking like emotional, psycho-emotional. I'm talking proteins that exist, that are created by your brain, by your body, that encode for different feelings, speeding up metabolism, slowing down metabolism. Things that change the way that your body reacts to the world around it. And every time these things change, as we discussed before in quantum theory, at a really tiny level, everything is energy. You are swimming in an ocean of energy, and oceans of energy have currents, oceans of energy have flows, have directions, and they certainly have tides. And I try to click on your video, somebody messaging me, and I can't even read it. So, as we work through these energies, they are within us and outside of us, and what do we do about that? Esther Hicks says that everything is in the vortex. Everything is in the quantum field, ready to come into you. When you open yourself up for it, stop denying yourself, and that would be the subconscious mind pushing things away. But how do you do that? You can't really move through that. Well, about the time I was learning about all of this stuff, I was reading the book Reality Transurfing. And I came upon this book because a guy, Quasi Johir, on YouTube, has a channel that he calls Quasi Quaz. And I watched several of his videos, and they were intriguing to me. And I really recommend, if you're interested in this stuff, if you're interested in the way the brain works, if you're interested in the way that motivating yourself works, check out Quasi Quaz on YouTube. And he runs a life mastery program, and he actually wrote this little book called Life Mastery. It's probably backwards according to you guys, but sorry, flip it out, Life Mastery. And what I realized, because I ordered the book, because I wanted to learn a little bit more about his perspective, I loved the way he thought about the brain, which is the ways I'm sharing it with you. And I love the way he talked about programming yourself through the reticular activating system, which is the ways I'm sharing with you. And then I realized that a lot of what he was teaching was usurped, was just pulled out of reality transurfing. And for those that want to see, this is reality transurfing. It is like 800 pages. It is written by Vadim Zeland. And it reads very stuttery Russian. That's how it reads, stuttery Russian, which is interesting. And if you can get through it, I honestly think that reading this puts it into context in a better way than anybody can ever explain. And Kwasi does a good job, but there's a fundamental quantum theory background to the way that reality transurfing thinks or teaches you to think, because a lot of times the way that we process our universe is three-dimensionally, length, width, and height. And I'm going to go ahead and try and do some on-camera drawing today, so we'll see how well that works. And so we measure our universe in length, width, and height. And then according to, I don't even know where it is, if it's quantum science or how they quantify this stuff, or it's just general physics at this point, we tend to think about time in sort of the fourth dimension, because things can remain in the same space, taking up the same volume of space, length, width, and height, but shift over time. They can change the ways that they are portrayed over time. And my mom was very much a believer in the fifth dimension, the higher energy dimension, and how that might be perceived, and if we would even notice it on the third dimension, like the width and height, and how might a fourth dimension reality shift perception. Because here's the thing. There's all of these theories, and everything that we know in this world, everything we think in this world, everything we experience in this world is really just a theory of how it works. And we can't necessarily prove it, because my experience is different from your experience. And we certainly have experiences in common, but when we talk about experience, we're talking about how we were raised, changes the way our body and our mind functions, changes the way that the reticular activating system functions for us, changes the different mindsets and beliefs about the world itself in general, about other people, about anger, about sadness, about guilt, about happiness, about sex, about nudity, about everything. It changes everything. Everything about the way you were raised, the way your mind was set, the things you were around, what you were influenced by, changes the way you think about everything else. And because we are such communal animals, we also have these mirror neurons in our head that say when somebody is doing something, when a community begins doing something, we have to echo that. And by echoing that, we become part of it. And we become part of it, we become a greater vibration, a greater whole. We become part of a thing. These are all drives to keep us moving forward. And this is all part of that energy, this beautiful energy of the universe we're in. But we start to fall apart a little bit because material physics, Newtonian physics, how's that? Material physics is really Newtonian physics, because material physics is all about gravity dropping things and being able to get to the moon, being able to get into space. And when we think about things with Newtonian physics, we're talking about big things. We're talking about things our size, about throwing things, about the dynamics of water, the dynamics of gravity, the dynamics of all of astronomical phenomena. And when we start to talk about quantum physics, it's the opposite scale. It's the small things. It's the stuff that it's quarks. It's protons. It's neutrons. It's this flow of potentialities that do or don't exist, or maybe they exist both at the same time. It's the multiple worlds theory. Do multiple worlds exist? Is everything happening all across the world, all across the universe in multiple ways, and we just can't sense it because we are limited in our singular perception of how we are doing it? So this is where reality transurfing comes in on a slightly different angle. At least this is how I interpret it, because The author essentially says, throw out that bullshit, because it's so much that is just trying to clog up the way we think about the universe. It's trying to find answers when we can actually create a basic philosophical system around the idea of energy and move through it. And this is where reality, this is the idea that there are multiple realities. You experience one version of reality. I experience a very different version of reality. And this has been tested. There is a case study where several people were brought into a room, some of which of this group considered themselves lucky, some considered themselves very lucky, and some considered themselves not lucky at all. And what they noticed when they put a $20 bill on the floor, and then they brought each person in these groups, the people who considered themselves very lucky saw the $20 bill on the ground, picked it up. The people who considered themselves kind of lucky saw it about half the time. The people who considered themselves not lucky did not see the $20 bill at all, did not get paid, felt like they got gypped by whatever the experiment was, and kind of left. So here's the thing. When you believe certain things, it trains your brain to see and experience different things. And experiences in general can be good or bad, right? Trick question. The determination of good or bad is in you. It's how you experience something. It's how you experience it in context of your life, your experiences. Remember, I keep saying one of the brain's primary functions is comparison. It is constantly comparing with something else, contrasting what we believe it should be versus what it is. Someone messaged me yesterday and said, your branding is very intriguing. And I said, well, what do you mean it's intriguing? Please tell me more. And he said, well, it's intriguing. And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, intriguing means that it causes curiosity. It causes someone to, ask more because it's different. It's unexpected. And the unexpected already says, okay, then I have an expectation of what someone like you who is talking about the things that you talk about should talk about and look like and be like, and you counter that. And I went, thank you. That means my work is working, because branding is about standing out as opposed to what everybody else is doing. So my branding being intriguing was good. I stood out. That was the energy I was putting out there. But that also meant that he was creating contrast in what he expected versus what he got. And I find that fascinating. But the thing is that all of this energy, let's go back, is about your perception of it and how you are traveling through the world, your life, the universe, etc. So if we imagine this pad of paper is going to represent all of the energy in the universe. And on one side, there we go, all the energy in the universe. On one side, it's all of the positive energy, and on the other side, it's all of the negative energy. And that's my really poor infinity symbol, okay? So this would be an example of 2D energy, quantum energy. Here's all the energy in the universe represented in a 2D plane, and really there's a front and back to it. Maybe front and back would be your yin yang, your positive, your negative. I don't know how it breaks out, but I'm just trying to show you that this is an example. If this is all of the energy in the universe, all of the frequency, all of the particles, all of the vibrations, the wave potentiality. Okay, here's the quantum field, the wave potentiality. You're right there. Maybe. I don't know. We'll just say you're right there, okay? So that's just on a single line. But you don't exist in 2D, you exist in 3D. So let's go ahead and draw something in 3D and pretend it's everything in the universe. So here, this is our universe. Now, in this three-dimensional universe, which, by the way, in every way, shape, or form, this is infinity. Negative infinity, positive infinity. This is a thought experiment, guys. If you're just kind of going when everything can't be negative or positive infinity all at the same time, go with me on this. Just imagine it. This is where reality transurfing gets a little funky. This is where it gets a little weird, and you have to play with the imagination just a little bit to kind of get it. Because everything in the universe, I've just represented with a box. On two-dimensional reality, on two-dimensional paper. But I'm just going to represent it here. And it's a funky box because I drew it really fast. And in this, let's go ahead and say that somewhere within this circle is our time-space defined by the speed of light. Why the speed of light? Because it seems to be that the speed of light is the fastest that we can measure, that we can see particles moving in this universe. It seems to be that in the material physics and Newtonian physics and quantum physics, the speed of light seems to be the constant, the high-level constant, the highest attainable energy speed that we can get in our universe. But we know that there's more stuff beyond that, because when physicists measure our universe, we are part of only 5% of it. 5%. We've figured out 5% of it. And we, as people, do not even see all of that 5%. Infrared, ultraviolet. There's so many frequencies, microwave, that are not even existing to our perception, except for to use it to cook popcorn. Microwave. Okay. Anyway, so the idea here is that there is an infinity around us, and we are just a small portion of that infinity. And what we are perceiving through that infinity is our own tiny infinity, because we are a perception in that. And in this, I'm just going to go ahead and do this. In this perception of infinity, you are at the tip of that arrow. You are the vibration, the collection of vibrations. And I will go ahead and do another Post-it note. I love Post-it notes. You guys who know me, I love drawing on Post-it notes and kind of just doing this thing. So here's who you are according to these quantum vibrations, okay? So imagine you got a vibration that is going one way, another way, another way, another way, another way. All of this confluence, and I would say everything within the circle is you. Thanks, you guys laughing at this. Is you. And it's all this collection of vibrations, and some of these don't even hit the circle. Some of them go around, some of them go through. But all of your cells, all the things that make you you, are these frequencies that are just vibrating at super high levels, at super tiny, because they don't make matter. It's the interaction of all of these frequencies overlapping, harmonizing. I said it before, you are a symphony. You are an amazing symphony, and the sound that you make in the universe is an incredible... If you hear the universe, you bring tears to the universe's eyes. You are that great. So as you're going, imagine that this is you, and you're at the tip, you're in that three-dimensional space, and you are experiencing life. And what does that look like? To experience life in an infinite universe, in frequency, in some piece of whatever that is. Okay, so let's empty out our universe again. This is the universe empty. And let's go ahead and say that in the scope of this universe, this reality that you are perceiving, and by perceiving reality, I'm sort of going back to this idea that your body, your cells are this vibrations that come together, and the universe, frankly, because you are conscious, you have this higher consciousness, you understand. If you are watching this, you're watching me, you believe in the idea of the soul or higher consciousness or higher being. If you were studying Hindu or Buddhism, this could be Atman. This could be on the road inside of yourself, the being that is you, who is being filtered by your subconscious mind, being filtered by this physical reality, the person that is you, that is so much more than you, that is greater than you, beyond you, above you, driving you. And if that's, if you're down to imagining that with me, if you're down to thinking about this with me, and you're looking at the universe like this, and you think, okay, so what does my life look like over time with the mixtures of these frequencies and all that? Now know that this is our ocean. This is what we exist in, this ocean of energy, all types of energy, all the positive, all the negative energy, and it's frankly not in any specific order because the universe is kind of chaotic, right? That's what makes us have groups and clusters and veins of galaxies, is this knowledge that over time this stuff has shifted and collapsed and collided and built this beautiful, ugly, terrible, awesome entropy engine through every interaction in time. So this is you in time in this three-dimensional frequency universe. So let's just say you start down here, you're born, and you kind of do some things, and you keep going around, and you do something else, and you maybe make a big move in your life, and you come around here, and then you die. You die. You live and you die. And you make a beautiful squiggle across the frequency verse, right? Because that is you traversing the currents of life. Sometimes you are just you're stuck in a current of luck. Sometimes you're stuck in a current of bad luck. Sometimes you're stuck in a current of everything else. And you're just kind of jumping and moving around all throughout the universe that you exist in terms of quantum field, in terms of quantum frequency, in terms of frequency in general, in terms of manifesting. When you manifest, you are setting your intention to be a certain frequency, and then as you set that intention, you visualize, you grasp it. Hopefully you're working through some of the negative stuff within you, the mindsets, the trauma, the training, I'm trying to figure out a way to say this in a it's stumbling on my tongue. Shadow work. That's what pops in my head. Hopefully you're working through some of the shadow work, the things inside of you, the things that are bound up in your subconscious mind, the blocks that are preventing you from releasing the negative energy to travel along different paths that get you where you want to be in your life. So that's sort of what reality transurfing is understanding that the universe is this energy. It is this field. It's sort of like water. It's sort of like the ocean that we are swimming in as energy, that we are filtering ourselves down through this physical body in this quantum field, and that through our physical body, we are making choices that shift and change and manipulate our physical energy fields, our electromagnetic field, our neural pathway fields, our protein genesis fields. I mean, all of these ideas within us, the light that we shine, the things that we do, the people that we are. It's the idea that we are pieces of energy traveling through this energy ocean. Now, oceans have tides, oceans have currents, oceans have waves, and if you get into luck, bad luck, thoughts, trends, you get stuck in some of these things, and you could ride them out. If they're positive, you ride it as long as you can, and then you make intentional shifts to change that. Now, if you're looking at reality, your perception of reality, through the lens of three-dimensional energy, three-dimensional space over time. But what happens when we look at energy and your life in a fourth dimensional sense? And typically fourth dimension would be time, right? Well, time-space doesn't really exist in this concept, this hypothesis. Time-space is a function of the brain's capacity to compare. It is a function of our subconscious mind and our base level programming really coming out and saying, look, there's only now, there's only right this second, and really what you're determining is right this second was last second, because you're just now getting it for something that just happened. We just now made it conscious, but the subconscious mind, the subconscious body, the subconscious, everything has already started acting on it because they get the signal far beyond the conscious mind actually picking up and moving it forward. And second by second, millisecond by millisecond, moment by moment, the entire body is working on your behalf to compare with the moment before and plan the moment after. So in every moment, your body is acting in the now based on comparing to last second, last moment, last thought, last action, and with the determination of moving forward into a thought, a pattern, an idea, a movement, a thing, a place, a vibration that you want to move into. And constantly the body is readjusting, reassessing, comparing, contrasting, and moving you forward in some direction. Now that's the concept, but what does that look like? Because if time doesn't exist, but we perceive it, because our brain is comparing so much, what does that look like in the frequency of the universe? This is where this gets interesting to me. This is where reality transurfing really started to get me, because if we took that box that I drew, I know you can't quite see this yet, just hold on. If we took that box, because that's infinity, that's everything, and you can represent infinity in 10,000 ways, right? If I put a dot on the screen right now, on the camera right now, that could represent infinity. So what I'm going to do to represent infinity is this. I have unfolded that box. That box was infinity. Everything inside of it was all of the energy in the entire universe, all of it, as well as the little section that was our physical three-dimensional reality. So if we take that concept and then we drive it a little step further and say, okay, we've now applied all of frequency, all of everything, all of this energy in the universe to this space. it doesn't flow. Your life can't flow through a connected stream. Your life, your energy, your frequency, the things you experience, the things that change within you from moment to moment don't look like a clear path. Because this sort of breaking it into any sort of structure, opening up, looking at the function of the universe, it scatters the things that you were doing and being and acting and saying and all of that. It scatters it. And that's because you don't think, you don't be, you don't exist, you don't vibrate, you don't represent that frequency in every moment to moment, in every single second. That energy is actually like spread out across the universe, and you can't even really locate one physical reality within all of that because it shifts so much. So here's the concept, just kind of go with me here. So this is still the same thing. This is still the same thing as this. And what we're doing by taking it apart and pulling it flat, we're creating one of those art installations, and maybe you've seen these, so that when you're up close, it's hundreds of pieces dangling down or on poles, and it's strange objects and it's different shapes, and they don't seem to fit. It's not until you take several steps back and you let the whole thing shift and change and come together that you see a whole picture out of it. It has to be seen from a certain perspective. It's not the fourth dimension. The fourth dimension, when we lay it out and examine these frequencies, is just a bunch of different specks. And if you were to actually perceive your life in the fourth dimension, for anybody that's ever read Watchmen, who ever watched the show, or the new HBO show, or the old movie, there's a character called Dr. Manhattan, and Dr. Manhattan, as a character, was a normal human until he blew up, and I believe it's a particle accelerator, something like that, and his atoms flew all apart, and then through consciousness, he pulled atoms back together again and rebuilt himself as a blue man who didn't like to wear clothes. Can't blame him. Who likes wearing clothes, right? It's no fun, unless they're really comfortable. So he pulled himself back together. The challenge for Dr. Manhattan at that point was that he perceived all of his life at once. His human birth, growth, all of his relationships, all of everything happening to him appeared to his consciousness at the same time, and it just depended on where he was and what moment he was living through as to where he sent his conscious perception and examined it. So if you were living in the fourth dimension, if you were living in that flat unfolded box, that's sort of what perception would be like. You would be living all of your life simultaneously, and it would be up to your consciousness to choose which frequency, which areas, which zones to focus in as you were moving through it. So reality transurfing says, okay, we can't actually picture things that way, and suggests that if we examine the stream of frequency, the stream of energy, the stream of all of that stuff going, apply a little bit of chaos theory, and understand that there are currents and pulls in the frequency universe, then really what you are trying to do is match the frequency of your future, the frequency you want it to be. And that really involves creating yourself to be that frequency, not waiting for it to happen, not desiring it to happen, not having an intention for it to happen, but making it happen. And the key to moving beyond intention, the key to moving beyond desire is action. And it's so funny that the law of attraction, which says be positive, the things you focus on are moving towards you, the rules of reality transurfing basically state, look, the things that you want, the things that you are moving towards are simultaneously moving towards you. So it's more resonance than attraction, right? And that's the funny thing is RTT really grabbed onto this concept because as you release the subconscious blocks, as you release the particles within you, as you change and shift the frequencies that are in the quantum field within you that you are observing simply by being, as you shift that stuff, you shift the position and three-dimensional quantum field, whatever, the square that I drew, that line of your life, you're shifting where it goes. And as you shift, you become in harmony with the frequencies that you're moving towards. And as you grow into that frequency, it is simultaneously moving towards you. So it's definitely a pull thing, a resonance. Similar frequencies of resonance pull towards one another and make that happen. And that's sort of the idea there. But the thing is that there's the difference between intention. For example, I have an intention to lift my right arm. It's not going anywhere. I can have all the intention I want. I can sit there and think about it. I can imagine it moving for 17 seconds, which is the thought it takes to really create a nice neuro network that programs things. I can really meditate on lifting my arm. I can think about it. I can visualize it. But it's not until I lift my arm that the change between the neural network and the physical reality is actually manifest. And that's what this book is really trying to say is, look, visualizing is fantastic. Changing the way that you see things, because things are not just good or bad. Things are neutral. Experiences are neutral. Life is neutral until you apply the meaning to it. And the meaning is derived from everything you've grown up with, everything you've been programmed with, all the stories you tell yourself. Put your perspective in your head, your paradigm, and you get locked into it. And your reality is the thing that is programmed into you. The reality is the perspective that you have picked up, that you hold on to. And you can change that. And you change it by changing the frame, by changing the story and how it's told from something negative to something positive, so your brain sees more positive. The reticular activating factor kicks in and starts moving you forward in a much more positive direction, or a much more desired direction. It doesn't have to be positive, honestly. But once you start doing that, you're activating the energy in the right direction. But the way that energy is focused and energy is manifest in a three-dimensional reality is through action. So by acting, by taking action, you are speeding up the process of the resonance of your frequency and the universal frequency that you are attempting to get to. That's the long and the short of it here. It's that by shifting the frame, it allows you to hold that vision better, longer, easier. And Esther Hicks, Abraham Hicks, really goes into this a lot in a different way, but it's really the same concept here, in that when we focus on the negative, we tend to see the negative. When we focus on the positive, we tend to see the positive. And if you want to live a life that is full of joy and full of happiness and full of gratitude and people who are loving and open and caring, but you don't see that, then you need to deal with the shadow work. You need to deal with the things that are holding yourself back. You need to deal with the fact that you are programming yourself in a way that's making it more difficult to take the action and move you in a better direction. That's not easy. I'm not saying it is. It's never easy to deal with these aspects of ourselves that frighten us, that make us feel pain, that remind us of the flaws that we potentially have. And it's not flaws, because a lot of that stuff is just programmed into us from such a young age. We are trying to please other people. We are trying to feel valued. We are trying to feel loved. And so we project a lot of things, as the brain only can perceive from the level of knowledge it's coming from. And if you are not knowledgeable about who you are and where you are coming from, it's hard for the brain to grasp it. And if the brain can't grasp it, the subconscious mind is not really going to have any chance, and it's going to fight against anything moving forward. And as that happens, the energy that you focus is more difficult to grasp. And that's the thing, is that as you grasp this energy, as you hold it for yourself, as you set intentions and you set your vision in the law of attraction and you start these things, understand that you are activating things in a quantum field, the vortex. And if you're activating things in the quantum field, in the vortex, that means they are full of possibility, full of anything happening, full of your awesomeness, just filling your life. But the universe will take the path of least resistance to get it to you, because that's conservation of energy. And we understand from basic physics that there's conservation of energy. The least energy spent to make the reaction happen is what's going to happen. So if all you're doing is thinking about something or meditating on it, visualizing it, framing it in some way, it's going to take a while for that to come into your life. But if you make some changes within yourself, powerful changes, and you address the things that are holding you back, mindset. I don't like the word mindset, because to me that's the basic choice that was programmed into you based on an experience. If you can change that base level choice, it becomes a subconscious choice eventually that keeps making itself throughout your life, because it becomes a belief that you have, and beliefs become habits, and habits become behavior. And eventually that's your personality, because you've just had that behavior for so damn long. So if you want to get out of that, you have to work through some of that. And RTT, really, Marissa Peer says, you have to feel it to heal it. You have to reach down and touch something to release it. And in Chinese medicine, it's kind of the same way. There's stagnancy. There's qi, which is life energy, right? Energy, frequency, that goes through channels throughout your body, and you get stuck, which causes emotional backlash, which causes a lot of memory backlash. A lot of times, things that get stuck in your head that are really negative based in things that are happening in your body. All of these things have to be worked through, and by taking the action of working through it, you are actively moving closer to that resonance frequency that you want to reach, because action is the answer to desire. And in Buddhism, desire is really the cause of suffering. We suffer when we compare outside of ourselves because we desire something else. We desire what we had in the past. We desire something for the future. We desire to be different than we are. We desire to be the person who's been doing this job for 20 years versus the person we are who's doing it for 2 years. All of these things are desire. And by taking action, we are creating meaningful steps that actually shift who we are on a fundamental frequency, vibration level, subatomic level, in the quantum field, and move us closer towards the vibration, the frequency, the world, the vortex, the things we want out in the world. In that way, we are programming the wave nature of our consciousness to act and direct the particle nature of our physical body, which in turn transitions the wave nature of our consciousness and our willingness to be and our being here and now and the entire quantum field to draw us closer to the future we want. So after all of that, you can ask, why is this guy talking about all this stuff, and what does that have to do with branding? What does that have to do with brand? What does it have to do with any of the stuff he says he coaches on and consults on? Well, guys, if you want to move into a certain future, you have to have a vision of it. If you want to move into a certain future, you need to know how you need to behave, how you want to behave, who you want to be, what values you want to embrace for that future. You need to know if you're building a business and you're moving towards the future, you don't need to really have that complex understanding of everything under the sun. If you believe in what you're doing and you hold that frame and you continue forward and you continue taking the steps, you build that future. But you have to know your priorities. You have to know the steps you need to take. You need to know the actions that are necessary to get there. And as you take those actions, as you take those steps, the universe is simultaneously moving that future towards you so that you can live it. And that's, we hear it a lot of times. You just got to stick at it. You got to stand out and stick at it and keep going for it and keep taking the actions. And that mindfulness, being intentional with what you're doing on a daily basis with every one of your actions, with your thoughts, coming into your higher consciousness, letting it take control and manage your mind instead of your body managing your mind, the particle nature, the fear nature, the resource-driven nature, managing your mind, the higher consciousness, the emotions that come out of that. Instead of acting on that stuff, giving it some space so you are higher consciousness and taking intentional steps. This is what this has to do with branding, because your brand is like your reputation. It's what everybody says about you. It's your expertise, it's your knowledge, it's your skills, it's the gifts that you give the world and the value that you provide in every word that you say. And hopefully all of this is a lot of value to you guys. Hopefully you're making sense of it. I've had too many people in my opinion tell me it's too high level, but I just got to get it out of my head. I just got to share it because it's so dang important to me and the work that I do, that listening to people and helping them align their future with their thought process and everything that they're doing and everything that they're feeling Thank you for all the thumbs up, guys. That is what drives your brand. That's what drives me to do this work with you, is encompassing all of this stuff in a process that aligns your life, your business, your tasks, your desires, your dreams, your hopes in a way that you can shift every frequency within you and move towards move towards that future faster, more efficiently, and just freaking make life worthwhile. Make it happy, make it joyous, because you deserve that. You deserve the best that life can offer. And so far, a lot of us feel kind of screwed over by life. Honestly, I'm sorry to say, there's a lot of victim going on when that happens. We think life should be other than it is. That's the contrast. We think it should be one thing. We think we have to control it. We think we have to manage life. We think we have to manage the chaos when it's maybe not up to us. Maybe it's up to that quantum field, and we need to stop focusing on that small percentage of life, the 20% of life that's mezza. Maybe we need to focus more on that 80% of life that goes pretty much effortlessly, is pretty much easy, and keep going forward. And then we choose what we want to change in that. And we let the rest of it go. Because you are enough to make a wonderful life for yourself. You are worthy. You are fantastic. You are beautiful. You are heartful. You are amazing. And you, when you focus your mind, can accomplish anything. Thank you so much. If you want to learn more about my program, it's called Manifest Design. It's 8 sessions where we go through a lot of this stuff, and I combine RTT into it to help you release the subconscious blocks and get you to the vibration, the frequency, the feeling that you want to be feeling to start moving really forward in your life. And then I also do branding with logos and brand identity and that stuff, because if you're building a business and you want to apply the law of attraction, quantum theology, dang, now that's a thing that basically is the thing. Quantum theory, quantum field, the vortex, all of these things, if you want to discuss it, if you want to talk about it and work it into your life, work it into your business, work it into the symbols that other people see that represent your business and represent these same ideas to them, that is brand identity design to me. Working all of this stuff into a symbol that you showcase on your website, on your business card, on jackets, on purses, on everything that represents who you are, the values that you're bringing to the world, and the amazing things that you hope to accomplish, bringing these two vibrations closer together faster, because that's what life is here for, to make it livable. It's a fun experience. And last piece of something for today, have fun. Go out, have fun, make life a game again, try to remember what it's like to be a little bit of a kid, have fun with it, and certainly, more than anything else, I hope this weekend you laugh. I hope you take a couple of minutes, and whatever it is, just laugh a little. All right, thank you so much. Take care. Bye.